Pyro. A class we all love.
But so many people believe that
Instead of finishing the pyro off with a corner of the rockets,
Love. And with that love comes the blessing of many amazing weapons. Used by pyro mains. Yeah, that's about it. And as a pyro main, I've taken it upon myself to place all these weapons on a tier list. Now, don't be mad if your favorite weapon gets F tier while my favorite weapon gets S tier. Although feel free to harass me about it in the comments below. Starting off with the stock flamethrower, this has everything you could ever want in a flamethrower. It's got lots of air blasts, it's got lots of damage, and it can random crit. And it's useful for pretty much every situation you're put in. Instant S tier. Moving on to the degreaser, this is the one most preferred by pyro mains, even though I don't use it that much. It really is fun to 1v1 a heavy using the panic attack, although the afterburn leaves much to be desired. B tier. The back burner, now that's something I can get behind. Using the back crits on this is so much fun. Just sneaking behind your enemies and killing them instantly, you're basically a spy. And it's just as good for WM1ing as stock. Although you lose out on some air blasts, but I'd say it's worth it. A tier. Moving on to the Phlogistinator, oh boy. The dream play for this one is you build up your oomph, you have a pocket medic, and you destroy the enemy team! Run in fear of my earned crits! But most of the time you'll just end up dying because you used it too early. And do I have to say, Air Blast is such a useful tool, and the Phlog isn't worth it to give it up. The Phlog gets D tier. Could be better, could be worse. And finally, there's the Dragon's Fury. Now despite most people's opinions, I don't mind using this. The burst damage it gives can actually be better than regular fire spread at times. And it can help you deal with one of Pyro's greatest weaknesses, sentries. Now, it can be a pain to hit mobile targets like scouts sometimes, but all in all, the Dragon's Fury isn't as bad as people say. I give it a B tier. Moving on to Pyro's secondary weapons, the stock shotgun is one of my favorites. The consistent damage it deals at medium to close range is awesome, and it's not a source of fire damage, so if you're fighting another Pyro, it's best to switch to your shotgun. The only downside is the shotgun's not good at long range, but you're playing Pyro. That kinda comes with the territory. A tier. The reserve shooter, oh goodness. The upside to this weapon, being mini crits when the enemies are in the air, doesn't come into play as often as you think it would. Especially since they nerfed it where air blast doesn't count. Although the quicker draw speed makes it fun to pair with a degreaser, it just feels like a discount panic attack with less ammo. C tier. Speaking of the panic attack, the panic attack! Everyone's favorite weapon to pair with the degreaser. Yes, there's the brain dead stereotype of the degreaser panic attack, but you can use it with other flamethrowers. It's almost as effective as a stock shotgun, but the wider bullet spread makes it so it's less accurate at medium range. I give it a B tier. Moving on to the flare gun, this is probably Pyro's most used secondary, and for good reason. It does critical damage to people on fire, and I don't know if you've heard this, but Pyros tend to light people on fire a lot. Now, it does take skill to use, but once you master it, you can control entire areas of the map with this thing. I'm locking it down in A tier. Now the Scorch Shot. Now, before you guys kill me, I'm putting this in S tier. Now, just wait, hold on, wait a minute, let me explain myself real quick. I personally love using the Scorch Shot because it's so much fun. You can light so many people on fire with just one projectile. It knocks them back. It mini crits them when they're on fire. I love using this thing. Granted, it does take less skill to use than the other flare guns, and you are going to get called out for using this, but who gives a shit what everyone else thinks? Go nuts, have fun. It's staying in S tier. Hey, you. Do you want to jump around like Soldier, but don't want to quit playing Pyro? Well, the detonator's for you. Seriously, successful jumps with this are so cool to pull off. Although, make sure it's a good time to perform a jump, or else you'll be blasted away further than Team Rocket. But you don't have to use it for mobility. It's a decent damage dealer. Although, I haven't really found a use for the detonation feature, or maybe I'm just bad at it, so I'll stick it in B tier. The Man Melter is very bad. You would only really use this with the Flog to extinguish teammates, or you're just memeing. It is pretty fun to hit crits with this thing, but tactically, I'm gonna have to give it an E tier. I do have to mention that the Gas Passer is an absolute god in MVM, but in regular game, not so much. You might get a few kills with it, maybe some assists, but regularly, you would be better off with a damage dealer. I put it in E again. You know, in the trailers for Jungle Inferno, the thermal thruster looked awesome, but once again, in practice, not so much. 90% of the time, the enemy will hear your loud-ass thrusters and kill you before you even touch the ground. But if you manage to get behind them, you're free to go on a rampage. And you don't have to use this to sneak up on the enemy. You can use this to get to the front lines, you can use it to get to the intel, whatever you want. But for me personally, I'm gonna put this in D tier. At last, we're down to the melee weapons. Now the stock fire axe, F tier. Moving on, the power jack is probably one of Pyro's most useful melee weapons. You can use the speed boost it gives you to chase up to enemies, you can use it to run away, you can get to health and ammo faster, and a whole bunch of other things. Now, it does make you take a little bit more damage when you have it out, but you'll rarely notice a difference. And to add a cherry on top, it gives you health back on a kill. I'm putting it in S tier. The extinguisher is a bit of a mixed bag. Sure, it does decent damage when you mini-crit them, but you have to get up close anyway, and it does less damage than stock. See, if we were talking about the pre-nerfed extinguisher, the one that crit players, I probably would have put this in B, but as it stands, it belongs in C. Okay, the third degree is literally just a direct upgrade from stock. So, I guess E tier, it's just so fucking bad. The Home Wrecker, now that's a good one. The ability to take off sappers in one hit is incredible. I love Pybros, and I love this weapon. It goes in A. Yeah, the main reason people use this is for Pyro Shark. Now, you can take off sappers with it, so it is good to use on maps with water and engineers, or you could have a scout to work with, but for now, I'm going to put it in B tier. The Back Scratcher is a decent utility weapon. It gives you more health from health packs. This can lead you to get full health quicker than you would without it, and since it makes medics heal you slower, it can be used to help them build Uber faster. Also, it has a damage buff, so it's better to use as a weapon than other melee weapons. I think it belongs in A tier. It's a good utility. Okay, why would you even use the Hot Hand? I mean, I use mine because it's got a funny name.
I like it cut, G.
But it's useless! The speed boost lasts less time than me in bed. Instant F. This weapon fucking blows. Oh boy, if you thought the Hot Hand was useless, you haven't seen shit. Why would you need a melee to set people on fire as Pyro? He has 2 slots that are fully capable of igniting enemies. Is that not enough? This thing is the worst decision Valve has ever made. Second worst. And don't give me that bullshit, oh, it's good in medieval mode. No, it needs to be good in the main fucking game. I'm not even gonna give this weapon the satisfaction of F. It's going in its own tier, the Sharpened Volcano Fragment.